question for us to clear. You mentioned that Deuteronomy 33:2 talks about Muhammad. But when you actually read it, it says that the Lord came from Sinai and drawn from Sire upon us. He shone forth from Mount Paran. He came from 10,000 of his holy ones with flaming fire and fire in his right hand. If this is about Muhammad, is Muhammad then God by extension? Because the he who is spoken about here isn't Muhammad, it's God.
Okay, this is where Christians they go wrong. They don't think that the rule of agency exists. And I'll give a counter example to that to just show that when it speaks about Yahweh doing something, it can be speaking about an agent, unless we want to keep contradictions in the Bible. There's a text in the Bible that says that Satan incited David to number Israel. But then there's another text in the Bible that says that Yahweh incited Satan to number Israel. Now, either Satan is the agent of Yahweh or Satan is Yahweh. You can make your mind up on that. By the way, Dr. Brown's friend Jonathan McClatchy harmonized it this way. So when we say the Lord came from Sinai, we know in what way God's revelation came from Sinai. Through Moses, he came from Sinai. God didn't come down to earth and start walking around from Sinai. So by that basis, we know what Sire means. We know what Paran means. It's a representative of the Lord. Now, notice something. When it came to the claim, Dr. Brown's claim, I knew Haggai chapter 2, verse number 7, about the person has to come before the second temple is destroyed. Notice what Dr. Brown said, that the person, this is what they do. Herod just renovated it, like Herod changed the carpet or something. This is what Jewish professor Simon Goldell wrote. It is fascinating that Jews always speak of the first and the second temples, despite the fact that there are three quite separate building projects, three separate temples, Solomon's, Zerubbabel's, and Herod's. And then he goes on to say, but Herod completely destroyed Zerubbabel's temple. He rebuilt the foundations and the whole building with new stones, as Josephus explicitly records. So if Dr. Brown wants to limit it to the second temple, a building, Jesus couldn't fulfill it. So it was destroyed just before Jesus was born. The temple in that context isn't speaking about a physical building. The temple can also refer to the land, as numerous texts like Ezra chapter 2 verse number 68 makes clear, and Haggai chapter 2 verse number 3, where it says, have you seen this temple in its former glory? Meaning what? This temple is the same as the temple before. For God there's no such thing as 1, 2, 3 temples.
Thank you. Dr. Brown.
Yes, so that's a great point that was made, because explicitly over and over we're told it was Yahweh himself, not an agent, Yahweh himself, that he came down on Mount Sinai. The 19th chapter of Exodus, the 24th chapter, they saw the glory of the Lord like fire, and he spoke from there. Everyone was terrified because of his presence. So explicit. And all it's saying is that he came from Sinai, and then just check any commentary. He rose like the sun upon Seir, and he shone forth from Paran. It's just talking about his splendor and his glory. That's all it's talking about. And again, universally understood in terms of the event at Sinai and the shining forth of God from there. And by the way, you just heard Jews always speak of the second temple, because there was a second temple. And people talk about a future third temple. The second temple was the second temple. Just Google it, all right? Everyone will say the same thing. The second temple is the second temple. That's where Jesus came. And once again, fighting over these things because you can't fight over what the text actually does say. Thanks.